May is my favorite month, but it's always very, very busy with my birthday and graduation. This May was chaotic and all over the place, but somehow I managed to find time to read more than my typical 2 books a month. Some were great, some were good, and some were just okay. And here in Keeping Up with Kenya, we're going to talk about it all. So grab some coffee or some tea, get cozy, and let's chat. The first book that I read this month was The Deep by River Solomon. This book was relatively short as it is a novella, which made it the perfect book for me to read during finals week this month. This is the second book by River Solomon I've read this year. After reading Solomon's debut novel, The Unkindness of Ghosts, they became one of my favorite authors to watch due to their commitment to creating stories that center around Black female characters. Solomon is also known for their usage of Afrofuturism, a subgenre of science fiction known for depicting the future with a particular focus on theoretical Black experiences. Afrofuturism is one of the most prominent genres of our generation, but more on that in a video to come. Deep is about a thriving society of Black mermaids, the descendants of pregnant enslaved women who were thrown overboard ships during the slave trade, known as the Wajinru mermaids. They live in a futuristic society in the deep parts of the ocean. Throughout the story, we follow Yetu, the young historian of the Wajinru people, whose sole responsibility is to hold her people's histories and their trauma and to share that history and trauma with them during the Rememberings. The Rememberings is a ritual which are held to remind the Wajinru people of the hurt and traumatic experiences of their ancestors. Hosting this year's Rememberings becomes an overwhelming challenge for Yetu, and we watch her go through that journey in the novel. Knowing that Solomon is an established Afrofuturist writer, I approached The Deep with much anticipation. I was not disappointed. The book was tiny, but at the same time, it packs such a solid punch that Solomon really leaves you thinking about your history and your trauma and how trauma can last for generations. Not only that, but the book's emphasis on not celebrating, but portraying a portion of history that is overlooked, which is the transatlantic slave trade. Not only just the transatlantic slave trade, but the people who were thrown or jumped overboard because they would rather drown than experience slavery in America. This is something that isn't talked about too much because it's dark, it's heavy, and nobody wants to talk about things that are dark and heavy, but it's necessary to talk about these things because, again, these are traumas that people have carried with them for generations, and how does that affect a person, let alone a community? And that is something that is really explored in this book. With that being said, what gives this book its strength is also its biggest weakness. For a story exploring something so deep, it is a bit shallow because it is so short. It's a novella, so there's only one central plot in the story. But that plot sometimes gets repetitive and moves slowly. For that reason, I'm gonna give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a great concept and the writing is really, really good, but I think that it was a bit too conceptual, and because of that, the theme kind of got lost, making the story not as strong as I know it could have been. One can only go for so long without asking, who am I? Where do I come from? What does all this mean? What is being? What came before me? And what might come after? Without answers, there is only a hole where history should be that takes the shape of an endless longing. We are cavities. You don't know what it's like. Blessed with the rememberings as you are, said. The next book that I read this month was Atomic Habits, which is a self-help book, which is so rare for me because I feel like there's just always a new self-help book circling Pinterest every other week. And the few that I have read were very elementary and repetitive. Atomic Habits was different. I'm gonna be honest, this book is not going to change your life. It's not going to make you instantly rich or instantly famous. But this is something that the author is transparent about within the first 20 pages of reading this book, which I think is exactly what sets it apart from other self-help books. In the author's own words, here's what Atomic Habits is about. I'm just gonna read the synopsis on the flap here. No matter your goals, Atomic Habits offers a proven framework for getting 1% better every day. James Clear, one of the world's leading experts on habit formation, reveals practical strategies that will teach you exactly how to master the tiny behaviors that lead to remarkable results. If you are having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you. The problem is your systems. Bad habits repeat themselves, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong systems for change. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. In Atomic Habits, you'll get a plan that can take you to new heights. Clear is known for his ability to distill complex topics into simple behaviors that can be readily applied to daily life and work. Here he draws on ideas from biology, psychology, and neuroscience to create an easy-to-understand guide for making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Along the way, readers will be inspired and entertained with true artists, business leaders, life-saving physicians, and star comedians who have used the science of small habits to vault to the top of their fields. Atomic Habits will reshape the way you think about progress and give you the tools and techniques you need to transform your habits. Whether you are an athlete looking to win a championship, a leader hoping to optimize an organization, or an individual who wishes to quit smoking, lose weight, reduce stress, and achieve success that lasts. I bought this book towards the beginning of April, but I didn't get around to reading it until May, and I wish I read it sooner. As someone struggling to meet the high goals I set for myself, this book was transformative. It taught me that when it comes to being successful, it's not about the goals you set, but rather the progress you make. I highly recommend you read this book, especially in your early 20s. It is one of the self-help books that doesn't give you false promises. It's not filled with gimmicks. I know this book has been everywhere on the internet, but I honestly think that everyone could find something in it. It's gonna be repetitive and basic for anyone who has a psychology degree. My boyfriend has a psychology degree, and I was telling him about it, and he also said that, oh, that's just basic behavioral psychology. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not a psychologist, so I didn't know. But I feel like Clear really breaks it down into a way that's understandable and approachable for anyone. Like, you don't have to have a 4-year psychology degree to understand the concepts that he presents in this book and to apply them to your life. As you can tell, I could talk about this book and how helpful it has been for me all day, but we don't have the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Atomic Habits a 5 out of 5 stars for me, because it really teaches you a practical, understandable, and effective way at just being 17% better. One of my favorite quotes from this book, as you can tell with my many tabs, there were a lot, but one of my favorite ones is on page 18. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path toward success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. Go get you a copy. Go get you a copy. But I would recommend that you buy this book secondhand. One, I just recommend that you buy most books secondhand to limit waste as much as possible, but also because this book was so poppin' towards the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, on Pinterest, on Instagram, you couldn't go on social media without seeing this book. At least I couldn't. So you could probably get this book for really, really cheap right now at like a thrifting bookstore or half-price books. The next book on my May reading list was The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom by Paris Woods. I don't have a physical copy of this book because this was one of those rare books that I read on my iPad, but this book is exactly what it sounds like. It is a financial self-help book aimed at young Black women in their early 20s. Naturally, as a young Black woman in my early 20s, looking for ways to grow financially on my path towards financial freedom, I read this book. Are you tired of spinning your wheels following financial advice that leaves you feeling broker than before? Are you pulling your hair out trying to follow the complicated instructions offered by the gurus? In The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom, Paris Woods takes the guesswork out of wealth building and presents a plan anyone can follow. After reading a few of these financial self-help books within the last couple of months, I was hoping for this book to offer me something new, something original, something special, like a plan, and it just didn't. And for that reason, I kind of walked away with it wanting more. I don't regret reading it, but I do wish that I walked away with a little bit more than what she offered. I feel like you could read a Dave Ramsey book and get what she offered. She often references her experience with Dave Ramsey and taking his advice and how that helped her grow. So for that reason, I give this book a 2 out of 5 stars. There are other books out there that offer the same information in a better, more cohesive way, in my opinion. But let's move on to the next book. The last book that I read in the month of May was a crazy one. It was Bunny by Mona Awad. This is by far one of the wildest books I have ever read, not even kidding, but I mean that in the best way. Throughout this book, we follow Samantha Heather Mackey, who couldn't be more different from the other members of her master's program at New England's elite Warren University. A self-conscious scholarship student who prefers the company of her imagination to that of most people. She is utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a clique of unbearably tweez rich girls who call each other Bunny and are often found entangled in a group hug so tight it seems their bodies might become permanently fused. But everything changes when Samantha receives an invitation to the Bunnies' exclusive monthly party and finds herself drawn into the magic to their front door, ditching her only friend Ava, a art school dropout, in the process. As Samantha plunges deeper and deeper into Bunny world, she starts to take part in the off-campus workshop where they devise their monstrous creations. The edges of reality begin to blur, and her friendship with Ava and the Bunnies are brought to a deadly collision. This is a wild book. Reading this book is like reading a blended version of The Girl on the Train and Secret History. The main character is unreliable. The plot is twisted and dark and weird, and it examines the hypocrisy of academia. With that being said, it is a page turner that leaves you with a lot to unpack. Jack Edwards, one of my favorite booktubers. If you're watching this, Jack, I am in love with you. But Jack Edwards gave this book a 5-star review, which is kind of why I picked it up. But other than that, I went into this book completely blind, and I'm glad I did, because it is a whirlwind. The author never leaves you. After every chapter you read, you just want to go to the next chapter. Like, you don't want to put it down. For that reason, I'm gonna give this book a 4 out of 5 stars, which is a solid rating. The only negative thing I could truly say about the book is sometimes it gets kind of too chaotic and crazy, but that kind of ties into the main character storyline and it ties into the plot. But sometimes the writing gets so messy, it's hard to understand, and you kind of have to decipher what's going on, which at times can get exhausting. But that's my only negative. If you are a dark academia girly, if you are into mysteries, or if you're into, like, you know, just dark kind of gothic novels, this definitely needs to be on your TBR list. With that being said, my favorite quote from this book is on page 17. Before I leave to meet Ava, I shoved the invitation in my pocket. She said she would be waiting for me outside the Center of Narrative Arts, sending check vibes. Because I'm not going in there, Smacky. Sorry, you know why. I nod, yes. Even though the truth is, I don't really know why. Apart from the fact that she's militantly anti-Warren and feels it's full of entitled pricks. Also, that it's killing my soul/creativity. She knows firsthand because she went to the art school right next door, which is almost as famous and elite as Warren, and it nearly killed hers. But she didn't let it. She dropped out before they killed her soul. Fuck that, fuck them. Now she works in the basement of the nature lab down the hill, shelving dead bugs. Every single dead bug gets its own tiny glass drawer. It's kind of nice, and infinitely better for her spiritual and creative well-being than hanging around the fake poor and fashionably deranged, aka the art school student body. This book is actually, I forget how freaking funny this book is. But that is it. Those are all of the books that I read for this month of May. If you stuck around this long, you know what you need to do. You need to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video. A lot of you guys who watch my content don't engage with my videos. You don't like, you don't subscribe, you don't comment, and that's a problem because I need to know what's working with this channel and what's not working, and I can't know what's working and what's not working if nobody's engaging. So let me know if it's working or not. You know, leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I can do better to make them a little bit better. These videos, they do take a lot of effort. I'm sure you could have seen me reading my script over here. I'm not gonna hide it. I was reading my script a little bit. I have notes so that because if I don't have notes, I will ramble like I'm doing now. But please engage with this video because it does take a lot of effort to make these, so I want to know which videos are working and which videos are not working. That way I know which videos are worth the effort and which are not. I'm still gonna make book content because I just enjoy reading and I enjoy sharing my thoughts with what I have read, but I need to know what is working, and I want to invest a lot more time and effort into this channel since I am done with college and I have the time. In order for me to do that, I need to know that you guys are listening and that you guys care and what you guys want to see more of from me. But that is all that I have to say today. I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have the most peaceful week and that is full of positivity and prosperity for each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next one.